4 o'clock now on your Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Survivors of sex abuse who are hoping to hold people who abuse them responsible were dealt a blow today by the Colorado Supreme Court. The High Court ruling that the Child Sex Abuse Accountability Act is unconstitutional.
That law allowed survivors of child sex abuse to sue their abuser as far back as 60 years. A sponsor of the bill tells 9 News reporter Jaleesa Rosari the decision is a major step back for some survivors.
The Colorado Supreme Court made a big decision today. A decision State Senator Rhonda Fields does not agree with.
My value and my belief is that every victim deserves justice. This bill is about justice for survivors.
Senator Fields was a sponsor for the Child Abuse Accountability Act, a bill that passed in 2021 that created a 3-year window for survivors of child sex abuse to sue an abuser or an organization for cases, in some instances, that could be decades old. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court ruled that law unconstitutional.
So they've slammed the door, they have locked it from the inside out. And if there's any cases that are pending, it sends a very chilling message to survivors. And for those who are in queue, don't bother.
In the ruling, the Colorado Supreme Court stated the law was unconstitutional because it was, quote, retrospective. Basically, a new law that applies too far into the past. According to the Supreme Court, retrospective legislation is something banned under the state constitution. But the ruling isn't stopping those across the street in the state capitol from trying again.
Then my next step is to look at what gaps, what are the loopholes that caused this ruling, to see what I can do to shore up that victims are protected. Every child has a right to safety in our schools, in our neighborhoods, especially from any misconduct from an adult.
Now, the case the Colorado Supreme Court looked at stems from a woman who sued Aurora Public Schools and a coach for abuse she said happened 20 years ago. We reached out to the lawyers representing that woman and the school district. We have not heard back. There are several other cases pending. One lawyer tells us they'll likely be dismissed if the alleged incident occurred long enough ago that the statute of limitations in that case expired. Tom?
So the Colorado Supreme Court said this was technically something they felt couldn't be done, but the legislature had tried to word it in such a way that it would be supported by the High Court. Now they go back to the drawing board and try to do it again?
Exactly. Senator Fields said she was actually going to be reaching out to the AG to see what went wrong in this case and try to reword it and bring it back for next year.
Tough news for a lot of people. All right. Thank you very much, Jaleesa.
A group of survivors of the Club Q shooting and say money raised to get to them is not getting to them. They spoke in front of City Hall in Colorado Springs today. They called out the Colorado Healing Fund and said money is not being distributed fairly. They say they are struggling to survive. They say the shooting caused so much trauma they've been unable to return to work or even pay for basic necessities.
The victim's job is to heal. It is not to beg for money. It is to have the money that was rightfully donated to us provided to us.
We shouldn't have to continue fighting just to survive every day after what we already had to survive back in November.
The Colorado Healing Fund says it has distributed more than $2 million of the $3.2 million raised. The fund says they don't distribute them right away and instead plan to distribute them later based on a model from trauma experts.
Our last full day of spring, warm and dry, summer-like today outside, a lot of blue skies, a little bit cooler than yesterday. Kathy's with us now talking about what's coming our way the rest of today.
Yeah, that cloud cover this morning was something, right?
Yeah, it took a while to go away.
I know, I felt the same thing. I had people around me saying, is it going to rain today? You didn't say it was going to rain. I said, no, it's not going to rain. But the mid-layer clouds definitely kept it cooler today. And it wasn't just this beautiful, vivid blue with the sunshine out there. But the sun did make a return. And when it did, temperatures have started to soar. Tracking a little bit of cumulus development off on the horizon, but no threat of rain or storms today. Things will start to change for us tomorrow. There's an advancing cool front, and that's going to usher in a little more moisture for storms. Temperature 84 at DIA, actually made it to 87 in downtown Denver. Some 90s out in eastern Colorado. Turned out to be a nice afternoon. Winds are light, but they're just all over the place today. I still think you're going to have a very pleasant evening. That high cloud deck is starting to lift north and east away from Colorado. The severe weather threat is growing in the northern plains states ahead of that low pressure system, which is approaching. So this is the area for severe thunderstorms. Notice it's north and east of Denver, Bismarck, Rapid City, north of North Platte. That's the area that could see hail-producing storms and damaging wind. Fair skies, light winds tonight, sunshine when you wake up tomorrow, and there's a little bit of moisture coming in the afternoon. So I put an isolated storm in for Denver tomorrow, but you go just a bit south and east, and it will be scattered strong storms late in the afternoon. Tonight, beautiful. Upper 80s will drop into the mid-70s after sunset. And coming up after a mild, quiet evening, the pattern starts to change a little bit. Tomorrow, the summer solstice at 8:57 in the morning. So a new season, perhaps a new weather pattern. We're going to talk all about that coming up in Maine Weather with your extended outlook in just a bit.
Thank you, Kathy. CDOT says the closure of Highway 7 between Lyons and Allens Park is going to be extended through at least Friday. Crews have spent all week pulling down loose rock and blasting large boulders left on the highway after the rock slide there last Wednesday. CDOT says crews have already removed 100 truckloads of rock and debris, but that there is still plenty more to go.
Ahead of the 4th of July this year, Jefferson County Communications Center Authority wants residents not to dial 911 when reporting illegal fireworks. JeffCom 911 says calling 911 can overload the calls to emergency dispatchers, especially since staff is already limited over the holiday. Instead, they want you to download the JeffCom 911 app, click the report fireworks button, and then send a report. Dispatchers say the report will go right to them without forcing residents to wait on hold for a dispatcher. There are also options to report online and through the fireworks hotline. The number and website are on your screen.
Windsor police officers shot and killed a man last night. A press release from Greeley Police says the officers were returning fire. That release says the Windsor officers had responded to a domestic disturbance at about 9:15 last night on Sunflower Drive. That's where they say officers found a 39-year-old man armed with a shotgun. Police say that man fired his gun 3 times. That was when officers shot him. He was taken to the hospital where he died. The 19th Judicial District is now investigating the incident.
The long wait is over. Denver's election results are finally official. The Office of Clerk and Recorder finished certifying the results today, finding 0 discrepancies. That means that Mike Johnston is officially the mayor-elect of Denver. He'll be sworn in July 17th.
Court documents filed today say Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, has agreed to plead guilty to federal misdemeanor counts of failing to pay his taxes. NBC News reporting the U.S. attorney will recommend probation for Biden for the 2 tax violations. He also faces a separate charge of gun possession, which will likely be dismissed if he meets certain conditions. Hunter Biden has been the subject of a 5-year probe by the FBI, the IRS, and federal prosecutors. Republicans allege that he'd been engaged in years of criminal conduct with foreign entities. And later this hour, our 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor will join us to talk more about the deal struck and what lies ahead for Hunter Biden. Well, the world continues to watch and wait. The Coast Guard among those searching for the missing submersible. Coming up in a little bit, our 9 News medical expert is going to talk about how urgent this rescue mission actually is.
We certainly have seen a whole lot of rain already this year with tomorrow's summer solstice. That means monsoon season's going to be upon us too. Wow, okay.